I have 4 daughters and a graduate education in child development. I've read the research, I've sat at the feet of many of the people who have written the textbooks. I walked into fatherhood more prepared than almost anyone has a right to be. I still wasn't ready. Not for the baby. The baby I could handle, at least the mechanics of it, right? Feed, change, burp, repeat. That part has a checklist. What no one prepared me for was what happened to me, to my marriage, to my sense of who I was, to the dark places that my mind went at 3 a.m. when the crying would not stop and something inside me started to scare me. So here's what I wish someone had told me. Not the stuff in the books, the real stuff. The things that experienced dads know, but they don't say out loud because they're afraid it makes them sound like bad fathers. It doesn't. It makes them sound like fathers. Okay? No one tells you that you might not feel it right away. The bond, that overwhelming rush of love that you've heard so much about, the moment that they place your baby in your arms and everything clicks into place. For a lot of dads, that moment doesn't happen. Not in the delivery room, not in the first week, sometimes not for months. I remember holding my first daughter and feeling, I don't know how to, removed, I guess. Like I was watching myself hold a baby rather than actually experiencing it. I loved her in theory. I knew she was mine, but that feeling, that emotional flood that everyone talks about, it wasn't there at that point. I thought something was wrong with me. I thought I was broken, defective, missing whatever piece makes a man a father instead of just a guy holding an infant. Here's what I learned later. Mothers have biology on their side. Oxytocin flooding their system during birth and breastfeeding. A 9-month head start of feeling that baby move inside them. We don't have that. Our bond builds differently through proximity, through care, through showing up again and again as the neural pathways form. If you're holding your newborn and feeling numb, you are not broken. You're just early. The bond is coming. It's built in days and weeks, not delivered in a single moment. No one tells you about the rage. This one is hard to say, but I've talked about it in other videos on this channel, and I'll keep talking about it because I think the silence around it is dangerous. There will be a night, maybe many nights, when your baby is screaming and you've tried everything and something rises in you that feels like violence, a flash of heat, a clenched jaw, a thought that you would never act on, but that terrifies you just for existing. That is not a sign that you're a monster. That is your nervous system getting hijacked. Your brain can't tell the difference between a crying baby and a genuine threat. It floods you with stress hormones and shuts down the part of you that thinks clearly. I have a whole video on why this happens and what to do about it. But the thing I want you to hear right now is this. Almost every father experiences this. The ones who hurt their children aren't the ones who feel the rage and are scared by it. They're the ones who feel it and don't have the tools or the support to do anything else. The fact that it scares you is a good sign. It means you're paying attention. It means you're not going to let it win. No one tells you that your relationship is going to take a hit. The research is clear on this. 67% of couples experience a significant drop in relationship satisfaction after their first baby. 2 out of 3. This isn't a bug in your marriage. It is a feature of the transition. You go from being partners to being coworkers managing a crisis. The currency of your relationship shifts from intimacy to logistics. Who fed the baby last? Who's more tired? Who forgot to switch the laundry? You're both drowning, and instead of reaching for each other, you're keeping score. I've made a whole video about this one too, about the pattern that my wife and I fell into, the way that I withdrew when she reached for me because I heard her need as criticism. But the short version is this. The distance that you feel from your partner right now is not evidence that you chose wrong. It's evidence that you're going through one of the hardest transitions two people can share. You come back from it by turning toward each other, not away. Small moments, okay? Looking up when she walks in the room, hearing the sigh and asking about it. Letting her see that you're struggling too, instead of performing competence while you fall apart inside. No one tells you that you're not supposed to parent like your wife. This one took me years to understand. And when I finally did understand it, it changed everything. I spent the early years of fatherhood trying to be a second mother. I measured myself against my wife, how fast she could soothe, how naturally she read the cues, how the baby seemed to prefer her. I kept a scorecard in my head and I was always losing. Here's what I didn't know. Fathers build attachment through a completely different pathway than mothers. The research calls it the activation relationship. Mothers tend to bond through comfort and soothing. Fathers tend to bond through stimulation and play. That roughhousing, that energy, that physicality that your wife sometimes watches with slightly raised eyebrows, that's not you doing it wrong. That's you doing your job. Your baby doesn't need two mothers in this relationship, right? Your baby needs a father in this interaction. You're here, they need you. And what a father provides, that invitation to explore, the gentle challenge, the confidence that the world is safe enough to engage with, that is something that only you can build. No one tells you about your own father. This one might not apply to everyone, but if you grew up without a dad, or with a dad who was there in body but gone in every way that mattered, I need you to hear something. The wound that you carry from that, the fear that you'll repeat the pattern, the belief that love has to be earned, the vigilance that you feel in every single relationship, waiting for the leaving to start, it's going to show up in your parenting. Not because you're doomed to become him, because unexamined wounds don't stay in the past. They live in your body and they come out sideways. I've made a whole video about my own father, about the night that I finally told my wife what I'd been carrying since I was 6 years old. I'm not going to repeat all of it here, but the thing I want you to know is this. The fear that you're becoming your father is itself the proof that you're not. Your father, if he was like mine, didn't agonize. He didn't lie awake terrified of failing his kids. He just left. You are still here. You're watching a video about how to be a better dad at some hour when you should probably be sleeping. That's not the behavior of a man who's going to repeat the pattern. That's the behavior of a man who's breaking it. No one tells you that it's worth it. I don't mean that in a greeting card way. I don't mean it's hard, but it's worth it, like something you'd stitch on a pillow. I mean that the version of you that exists on the other side of this, the one who stayed in the room when he wanted to leave, who kept showing up when he felt invisible, who learned to regulate his nervous system and repair his ruptures and see his partner and understand his baby, that version of you is someone you can't even currently imagine. The man I am now is not the man who stood in the delivery room feeling next to nothing. He was built by every hard night, every failure, every morning after when I went back and tried again. That's what's waiting for you. Not perfection, not ease, but a version of yourself that earned something real by staying in the fire. Okay? They prepared you for the baby. The books, the classes, the well-meaning advice from everyone who's ever held an infant. They don't prepare you for what happens to you. I'm making these videos because I wish someone had told me. Because the silence around the hard parts makes every struggling dad think he's the only one. Because Marcus, right? The guy searching at 2 a.m., wondering if he's broken, deserves to know that he's not alone. If any of this hit home, I've got other videos that go deeper on each of these topics. Start wherever feels right for you. I'll be here, and I'll see you in the next one.